Welcome back to Rich Words Music, where I am at 42 Gear Street 5 at Henning Pawley's place, and I've been joined by a very special guest today. It's Mr. Andy Ferris.
Hi Rich, how you doing?
Good day to you, sir. I'm very follically challenged compared to you, but good. It's warm and I'm going fuzzy and floppy at the same time.
Well, I'm glad that you said fuzzy, because that would link well to what you've probably titled this video.
It would absolutely do that. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I am a fuzz pedal novice. And if you've watched Andy's before, you'll know that he is a fuzz pedal enthusiast.
Yes.
You're not the world's highest authority on fuzz pedals when it comes to the tech and the specifics and stuff like that, but you love a bit of fuzz in your life.
I know stuff. I don't know all the stuff. I don't build pedals. I don't know about certain things, but I do know what'll get you near what you want with the sound in your head.
And that's exactly what you're going to show us today.
Okay.
We've got a bunch of fuzz pedals on the floor, different brands, different budgets, different prices, and we're just going to have some fun with them. We're going to go through them, we're going to play them with a variety of different settings, different guitars, and you're going to tell me what sounds good, what works good for different kinds of music, what doesn't work so nicely, and hopefully, by the end, I will know more than I did at this point in time.
Well, we've already learned something, and that is that we had a board of pedals set out, and the first thing we did was that some fuzz pedals that are more vintage circuit based don't like being behind a tuner, so tuner then guitar. They need to be right after your guitar. That's not the case with more modern fuzzes, and the fuzzes we have on the board down there. Can we have a shot of the board at the moment, please, Victor? There, so we've got this, the Eons there by Walrus Audio, we've got the Constellation by Crazy Tube Circuits, we've got this Interstellar Audio Machines Fuzzsquatch Fuzzdrive, the Octahive from Beetronics, and the Fundamental Fuzz also from Walrus Audio. And we had them all plugged in, and then we decided to go just one at a time, because they might behave better. We don't know. We didn't really have time to look into that. So first thing with fuzz, if you're testing out fuzz, just go guitar, fuzz, amp first, because fuzzes can be temperamental.
Yep.
And you can get different results. Not always bad results, and all this is also mostly opinion. So you might like what you get. Also, if you're using a wah and a fuzz, depending on which way you put it round, was far. Well, I'm getting it now. Whatever you have, I'm getting it. Wah fuzz or fuzz wah will sound totally different, and I recommend experimenting with both ways. Any road. You asked me to recommend you some fuzz styles, and there are so many. And if you're a fuzz aficionado or an enthusiast like me, then you'll know that there are so many fuzzes in the world, and I want to say more fuzzes than drives.
Really? There are thousands of drives out there.
I know, I just think that fuzzes are such a simple circuit that can be tweaked so minutely and then change the voice entirely. Or not, depending on how you think.
Yeah. Well, perhaps that's why I'm overwhelmed by the whole thing.
Yeah. So, when I say the word fuzz or fuzz pedal, what sort of song or genre comes to your mind instantly without thinking about it?
Well, to me personally, I instantly think garage rock from a certain period. I think Jack White, I think the White Stripes, and I think the Black Keys. That's where fuzz in my head is. But I know that 60s fuzz is kind of where it all began, and that's where I also kind of think about.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was possibly the most important question of this video for me to find out what you currently feel, and I would ask then what you like. So I guess you like the Black Keys and Jack White and the White Stripes. And what if you were to buy a fuzz pedal, which songs would you want to emulate?
Well, if I'm talking about the White Stripes, stuff like Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground, stuff like... Is something like Fell in Love with a Girl fuzz, or is that more distortion? I don't know.
Yeah, it's... Again, there's this blurred line between all this stuff, and we haven't played anything for you yet, so I'm really sorry about that. But overdrive, distortion, fuzz, there is a... It's not 1, 2, 3, it's a blur throughout the whole thing. And also, they didn't just use one fuzz or one fuzz style, but that sort of White Stripes, was it Elephant, the album? Or one of those, or the White Stripes? That was a sort of a lo-fi fuzz, isn't it? A sort of gritty kind of thing.
Dirty, chaotic.
Yeah, which might even have been happened by cranking up an amp. It might not have been a pedal.
Yeah.
But the reason we're going to start with this one, this is the, where is it not shiny there, the Constellation Fuzz. This is a more sort of 60s fuzz, which is also kind of garagey rocky. So you might say things like Smashing Pumpkins, which is more big, fat, grandiose wall of sound and thick. And these are generally thinner So let's plug this one in. And the first setting on this as a multi-fuzz is a fuzz face, which is a more 60s thing. Sorry about that.
Now, what would a fuzz face most traditionally be used for? And could you name maybe a famous hit or two that might have
I
had
could
a
name an
fuzz face
artist
on
by
it?
the name of Jimi Hendrix.
Never heard of him.
No, he looked a bit like us. He looked a bit like us, but was left-handed.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
Yeah.
So
To look him up.
yeah, you should. Hendrix used types of fuzz faces as well as others, but the one you might recognise is the round one with the Dunlop. It's now Dunlop.
Yep.
It was round like a frisbee kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a fuzz face. So this would be more, I guess, garage rock. So do you want to just play something? And
Yep.
we're using a clean style first. So clean amp.
Something that I've noticed straight away
Yeah.
is that I like to play big fat chords,
Okay.
and this is very different from your standard overdrivey stuff.
Yeah, you're not going to get the definition that you get there with an overdrive or a distortion.
I'm also playing this PJD Carey that has humbuckers in it. You've got a
That's why I've
PJD
switched over to
Woodford
this
with
with
P90s.
P90s, which
Is that
are-
also going to be better for the sound?
I believe so.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I instantly just wanted to nudge up the gain knob.
Really?
Is that a thing with fuzz? Again, tell me.
I've purposely
Reveal your
gone for
secrets.
that low level of gain. In fact, I would have gone lower. I would have gone to there, because this kind of sound I'm looking for is what I would call hairy. There's just a bit of hair. Can you hear that buzz? That is
Yeah.
literally a fuzz.
Yeah. Clean.
And when testing a fuzz,
Yeah.
roll off the volume and see how it cleans up, because when you roll it off, instantly gets clean. In fact, that's quite surprisingly clean almost instantly. Normally it just
Yeah.
goes down and then you get a clean point. So that's what I would call the introduction of fuzz. It sounds like an amp that is being pushed too far.
Is it that ripped speaker sort of a
Ripped
sound? Is
speaker
that what
sort
that
of
is?
sound.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I'm learning.
So again, not an expert, enthusiast, but that's that traditional 60s fuzz where it sounds like a pushed amp, where they just... I think fuzz came from a broken circuit on a mixing desk that they liked the sound of.
Okay, interesting.
And that's where it came from. Then they put that circuit in a pedal.
Yeah.
A lot of people will correct me or fill in the details there, but that's generally what happens. It's a broken sound because it came from a broken sound. It
Yeah.
literally is broken. And it's taking that sound that you're giving it and mashing it up and taking out frequencies and doing all kinds of things that make it sound wonderful.
That's really interesting. Would you say that a fuzz face circuit that we've got here, is that a decent choice for someone like me who's kind of just getting into fuzz? Is it easy to tame? I mean, I've already found out that the gain level, the volume on the volume control on the guitar, and the pickup type is very much
See if it works for
altering
you.
how we sound.
To answer your question, Rich, it depends on the type of band you're trying to emulate, which is why I asked you that question at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because if you want Smashing Pumpkins and you get a fuzz face, you're not going to get it. Or... So
No,
you've
that
gone
was-
there. Let's quickly jump to... I'm going to unplug this now.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the Eons by Walrus Audio. And this has got a more silicon-based thing, which is a bit more muffy. So you might have heard of the Big Muff.
I have indeed.
And that is a thicker sound.
Yep.
If we go there, I believe.
Yep. Okay. that
So
is-
totally different, right?
That is totally different. Is there? What's the tech thingy behind that? Do you know it, or is the?
This is where fuzz gets fun, and this is why I like fuzz, because it's so descriptive.
Yeah.
I don't know the tech behind that, but I would call that more woolly.
Yeah.
And fuller, and you can choose any word you want. Like when you say you're drunk, like I'm completely monitor speakered, or whatever. I'm completely afroed.
Yeah.
Just picking things from the room. But yeah, with fuzz you can describe it in any way, and other fuzz lovers will understand you. So this is woolly. Try that Smashing Pumpkins riff again.
That instantly sounded much more like the Smashing Pumpkins. Yeah.
So it's just, there's more frequencies there.
Huge amounts of bottom end.
Yeah. So imagine Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
That's really thin, and there's not much bass in there at all.
Yeah.
That is what I would call the opposite of Smashing Pumpkins, to give it an example.
Yeah. How does Satisfaction go? It's just 3 notes.
Okay, so still not quite there, because this Eons fuzz doesn't do that 60s like the Constellation did.
I noticed that there's like a noise gate or something going on just there.
This is another fun thing about fuzz. This is our next thing. So this is really the crash jump in. On the Eons fuzz, we have a voltage starve. So whereas most pedals, dare I say most, I was going to say all then, give except 9 volts from your power supply.
Yeah.
If you give less than 9 volts to a fuzz pedal, fun things start to happen. They start to misbehave in fun ways.
Less volts. That's really interesting because, I spend a lot of time playing transparent overdrives, and what they like to generally do is say you plug in a standard 9-volt power supply, but there'll be something like, is it like a charge pump or something inside that takes you up to 18 volts, that gives you more headroom, more dynamics and stuff like that. But this is doing the exact opposite.
Well, this Eons will go up to 18 volts. So roughly in the middle, we're on 9 volts. Then if you can see it just there, it says 18 volts and 3 volts. So what I'll do is, if you play Satisfaction again, please.
Yep.
And if we stay on this camera here, just from the pedal, I'll push it up to 18, then I'll take it down to 3. Yep. So, off you go. So that sound became fuller, and I would say more overdrive-like.
Yeah, I almost thought I was hearing like overtones, like an upper harmonic or something.
Yeah, so let's push it back up to 18. So that's on 18. Definitely overtones. Now we'll go from 9 volts down. So please play the riff again. Now we're getting into territories of what I would call spitty fuzz.
Spitty.
And this is when you can... I'll just borrow that guitar if you don't mind, rather than take mine. And I'll borrow a pick as well.
Jazz 3's the best.
So as that note dies, it kind of goes...
Yeah.
So it's choking. And this is what we're talking about when you're talking Jack White and things like that. This sort of really broken. So the Eons fuzz is one of my favorites if you like a modern, more high-gain Smashing Pumpkins fuzz, because there's so much range in there.
Yes.
If it did 60s as well, it would be an even better pedal, but it's certainly aimed at that higher gain stuff. It does do a Germanium, which is more 60s. So let's see. That's more there, and then if we drop the gain and bring that down. And it still dies.
Yeah.
So we're really doing crash course in all things that I know about fuzz.
Absolutely.
But voltage is really important with fuzz, and you can have amazing fuzz. You can get power supplies that starve the voltage, so they give it less voltage.
Yeah.
So any fuzz pedal you can do that with. Any drive pedal as well. You really have some fun and open up some stuff by doing that.
Yeah. Both of the fuzzes we've looked at already, the Constellation by Crazy Tube Circuits and the Eons by Walrus Audio, they have multiple modes. Is that something that you would recommend a beginner to buy as a first fuzz, so you can really get like a taster crash course in all the different flavors and stuff like that? Or is it too much?
I have to give you a different answer. What I would not recommend is by getting a digital multi-effects. Definitely don't do that.
Okay.
Because fuzz is analog. And you'll get a flavour of it if you get a multi-effects, and it'll do most gigs and stuff. But if you want to get into what is it, you need to have an analog fuzz like these. Should you have a multi-fuzz? Sure, but they're a bit more expensive. And one of the best things about fuzzes is that some of them are not actually that expensive to build. So I would recommend actually getting the cheapest fuzz or a cheap fuzz and seeing if you like it. And then seeing which, I know we're using just these two bands, like the Stones, let's go for the Stones, and my hand's out of frame. And it's way over there. Smashing Pumpkins are all out the window. So this is the fundamental fuzz. So I haven't answered your question by asking, should you get a multi-mode fuzz? Because this is a multi-mode fuzz.
I think these days, to be honest, most pedals give you more than one mode, so you're probably going to end up with more than one, unless you buy, one of the classics, which I've heard of, like the Big Muff, which is just a Big Muff, right?
Yeah, they're not here and they're not sponsoring this event, but you can get some great
Muff,
electro-harmonic. No, we can bring it in. It's authentic, right? I've got all the nano Muff fuzzes from Electro-Harmonics because I collect them, and they all sound slightly different.
You mean identically spec'd, identically sort of aged?
Yeah, there's the ram's head.
Yeah.
There's the green one, the Russian one.
Yeah.
That's the Dan from Black Keys one. So if you're looking for Black Keys, the Russian green Muff, Big Muff is the one you want to go for.
Yeah.
However, you don't have to. And to go back to this one, I would recommend not spending very much money at first. As in, you can get fuzz pedals that cost $500, €500, and there are insane levels of fuzz collectors out there, and I am almost in that camp.
Yeah.
It's just, fuzz is like a seasoning that you sprinkle, and the difference between the one you like and the one you don't like is worlds apart, and it's really personal. So that's why it's a journey, and this is one of the reasons I love fuzz. Let's plug in the fundamental fuzz, which I'm going to say is about $100. Yeah,
Mario from Face told me that this pedal is €99.
Oh, right. Well, I was
so under 100 for what is an American-made pedal. He also informed me.
Yeah,
that's pretty decent bang for your buck, and it has 3 modes, and it has these interesting sliders, which have kind of thrown me into even more confusion. Cause
I love it. So we've got gain, tone, and volume.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave them all in the middle, and we've got 3 modes: classic, mid plus, so more mids, and gate.
Yeah.
One of my favourite fuzzes is the op amp Big Muff, which is the one that is used by Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, amongst others.
Yep.
That has more mids in it, so he cuts through a bit more.
Yep.
When you have fuzz, you can tend to lose yourself in a mix of a band. So you can find that you put on your fuzz pedal, it sounds amazing. Then you play it in a band context, and suddenly you can't hear your guitar. So what do? You push up the volume, and suddenly you've ruined it.
Yeah.
The op amp stuff in there, or the mids stuff, brings back that mid frequencies, which is where a guitar sits.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this years and years and years ago when I got my first Big Muff, so I bought a wah pedal, and this is how I got into my classic wah fuzz, because the wah would bring back those frequencies that I suddenly cut out with the Big Muff. And so I would always kick on my Big Muff and my wah at the same time, so I could still be heard. I didn't know what I was doing, but there was a reason for it, and now I know, and that's always fascinated me. But let's check out this pedal. We do the classic, which should be the more 60s stuff. Okay, so we'll just put it on and see what it sounds like.
That was way more aggressive.
I was absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Classic does not mean classic 60s. Classic means whatever this one is modelled after. It probably means stock, should we say, not modded.
Yeah.
And I think that's the mistake I made last time I looked at this pedal. Before we go any further, we have currently been running through the Rev, just here, the Generator 100p. I'm going to put another level on top of all this information I'm dumping on you. this is a clean amp. So if you just, sorry, there you go. We've set that clean. If we go into the Blackstar, what's it called? The Mark III, the HT Venue Series Mark III, which is the new one from Blackstar, also sponsoring this event. Thank you, Blackstar. This is a slightly edgy, bitey amp. So we've set it slightly overdriven. If you then put a fuzz on top of that, this can totally change how that fuzz reacts.
Okay.
So I'll switch, before we really delve into this pedal, I'll switch the amp. So pedal on, this is the Blackstar.
Hugely different.
Yeah, different amps, of course. It would be better if we were using the same amp and used a different channel. It would be more fair. But a fuzz pedal generally reacts with an overdriven amp really nicely.
Now, just to jump in there, I'm someone who loves the clean channel on my H&K Black Spirit 200 amp. Generally, I tend to build up from that clean channel, which is quite neutral, with drives. So I stack them up. Is fuzz going to operate in a similar fashion?
That's the thing about fuzz, Rich.
Oh.
You just got to try it.
Well, it's beautiful because I've got a lot to learn still.
Let's try these different modes. So that was, as you said, aggressive, more aggressive than I expected. Let's keep it on this shot, please, Victor, and I'll turn it on. Then we'll change the different modes so you can hear. The gate is going to be interesting.
Which amp are we on?
We're currently on the Blackstar. So this is the
amp
overdriven.
Sounds really good, by the way.
I like this one.
Yep.
Right, here is your fuzz, the classic.
That was interesting.
Yeah, 3 totally different sounds.
Yeah.
One €99 pedal.
And we're basically on what is 12 o'clock on all the knobs still. So the possibilities in this one are going to be pretty much endless, aren't they?
As you said, aggressive already.
Yeah.
So gate, I think it's doing that voltage starving. That's the general way that you do it on the fuzz.
Yeah.
So what we did with the Eons, it's just a switch that switches it to something else.
Yeah.
Which is lovely if you're really high gain and you're feeding back because it just cuts out entirely. Let's push the gain to max and see what this sounds like.
Yeah.
Back to classic first.
I'm going to do the Smashing Pumpkinsy thing again.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, give me a power chord, or anything. Give me one again. See, that's the gate, it's cutting you off.
Yeah.
And gates, may I?
You may.
Are great for those single riff notes. So, gate on, then put in the pedal. And one of my favorite things to do with fuzz is just to bend that note, a low string, and then hear it die. Right.
It's almost synthy.
You read my mind, that's where we're going. When you're trying out fuzz, stick it on the neck pickup,
Yeah.
go up higher notes. And as a solo guitar, you hear that at the end?
Yeah.
Velcro. That's the common known term for that sound.
Velcro.
Velcro
okay.
ripping.
Because it sounds like you. Yeah. Okay.
I'm having such a good time with this video, by the way. I don't know if you're having a good time. I'm having a good time. We've got 2 more pedals to go through. One neither of us have ever tried. And this one is the one before that, sorry, is the Octahive from Beetronics.
And then the word octa presumably means this is going to be an octave fuzz.
Yes, it has an octave mode.
Now, for me personally, one thing that I just wanted to bring up was that when I play garage rocky stuff, White Stripes or someone like Wolfmother, for example, what I like to do is have an octave down. But I believe octave fuzz is more traditionally associated with an octave up.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. So you can get sub-octave fuzzes.
Yeah.
And also, to kind of get into that, I really could spend an hour. We should have booked a double session.
We should have booked a double slot, yeah.
Get something like a electroharmonics POG or some kind of octave thing.
Yeah.
Put that before your fuzz, and then try it after your fuzz.
Yeah.
So after your fuzz might get cleaner results. So you're giving a fuzz and get this fuzzy, distorted sound.
Yeah.
Then something like a POG will give you a lower octave and an upper octave, and suddenly you get this massive sound.
Yeah.
And there are several bands that use bass into fuzz and then send the lower octave to a bass amp and the upper octave to a guitar amp, and get that sound that way.
I was always a big fan of a band called Death from Above 1979.
Not familiar.
After that, called Death from Above, and that was a bassist and a drummer, and I assume that he would have been doing similar stuff. But have you got any more examples of the bassy
I was
guys
hoping
who do
you were
that
going
kind of
to.
thing?
I can't remember his name.
Oh, sorry.
Isn't it Mike Kerr, who's just had a Fender released?
Yes.
You'll find out, and then you'll put it on a sort of caption.
We
won't you?
will link it,
and people will put comments on there.
Yeah.
So this is an octave, and we've got. This has got several modes in it, so I'm just going to give it some. There's some honey, and it's got all kinds of different settings.
And the knobs are underneath, so we don't know where like 12 o'clock is.
There we go. There's minimum. That's off. Right. Let's set them all about 12. Okay, so the fun thing about fuzz doesn't chug very well. So even though this is higher gain than, let's say, Metal Zone, it's not a chugger. If you're into chugging a metal, it's, again, opinions. If you're going to do palm muting and chugging, you're not going to get Metallica. You're not going to get heavy metal, even though there's more distortion, generally speaking, than a distortion pedal.
So if you're looking for a tight, crisp, clear response, you're not going to get it with
a fuzz. You're not
going to
want fuzz. Yeah. No, even though you'd think, I want massive maximum distortion. Here's a high gain maximum distortion fuzz.
Yeah.
Wrong pedal. You want a metal high gain pedal.
Yeah, okay.
So try some neck pickup and some sort of upper something here.
Okay. Overtones.
Yeah, so this is the octave. This is the Octahive. So first we were without it. Give me something and we'll go without, and then I'll switch it on.
Okay.
Yeah, so did you hear that octave come in?
Upper octave, harmonics, gated as well, a bit.
Yeah, this is a word I like to use is nasty. It's quite a nasty fuzz.
Nasty.
In a good way.
But nasty is a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, always good.
Could we hear you doing this? Because you're way more at home with this kind of stuff.
I can try. So pedal on. Singing is the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
So rather than noodling, it's more one note. This is why fuzz works so well with things like White Stripes, is because he's not a fast, swift noodle player.
No, exactly.
He's less is more on the note front, and then it's the feeling of the note.
No, but this is really interesting because I've approached this video like a guy who doesn't know how to play fuzz.
Yeah. And
which is perfect if you're also a beginner like me. Hopefully you're learning something too.
I'm enjoying and learning, and remembering what I know.
Yeah.
was fumbled like heck, but that was more sort of Jack White's groovy.
A beautiful, broken, nasty sound, yeah.
And to me, a great broken fuzz is when it just dies just when you want it to. And there's a great relationship between you as the player and the pedal. Because if you're playing a high gain like a Rev G3 or a Metal Zone or something, you're chugging and you're singing and it's amazing. But the fuzz that dies on you, you've really got to be one with the pedal to put it in a really strange way.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And if that died too early, say I wanted that note to go more, I'd either up the gain or increase the volume of the amp and go over there and, interact with the amp.
I was going to say, could we please hear that with the slightly dirty amp? Or are we currently on that?
That currently is the slightly dirty amp. Let's hear it with the clean amp, and you'll notice that it probably doesn't do it as nicely. Or it does.
Or it does. That was nice. It was a much more synthetic sound.
Yeah.
And it worked for me.
Yeah, that's a great pedal. It is just very musical. If you're doing melody lines on the guitar rather than shreddy more, rather melodies, simple melodies, this is perfect for that. Let's go, Rich, to the pedal we don't know, because I'm worried that we're running out of time.
We are, I believe. Now, this is a pedal. Well, I've not played any of these pedals before, but you've played them all apart from this one, which is brand new, and it's called the Fuzzsquatch.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's going to be just a big, fuzzy, messy wall of sound.
Yeah, and also another thing about fuzz, Rich. That's probably what this video is called. Another thing about fuzz.
Another thing about fuzz.
There's a T-shirt. I'm having that one. Is that the names are always fun.
Yeah.
And the graphics often also. So let's plug it in. Fuzzes are generally more weird. With an overdrive, you get something more doctory, more lawyery, more serious. With a fuzz, you just get weirdness. Right, I'm so excited about this. So we have, on the pedal front, we have the volume, we have the tone, and the sus, which is probably sustain, which on a fuzz is also distortion.
Yeah.
And then we've got a tone bypass, which will, I'm guessing, bypass this tone knob.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's on or off at the moment. So you are currently, do you want the clean amp or the dirty amp to start with?
We'll go with your recommendation.
Let's start clean
We
can hear exactly what the pedal's doing.
Yep, okay, let's do it.
So, you've got some
clean
clean?
sound? What kind of fuzz is that?
That's more muffy. It's more Smashing Pumpkins, to use the band example.
Okay.
It's big, it's aggressive, it's a wide range of frequencies there. It's not just full in that bottom end, there's also a lot of top end. And I feel that would also cut through nicely in a band mix. Like, as I said, with the op amp Big Muff,
Yeah.
you're not losing the definition, as it were. You're not losing those mid frequencies. Let's play around with the tone and see what happens, which we... That's quite almost low. If we do less gain, so now we're on just a little bit of gain. Got a brand new fuzz. That's a sort of almost lo-fi. It's still a bit too much gain. Let's push the gain all the way down. Weird. It doesn't get spitty, notice?
I quite like it. That's more like an overdrive than a fuzz to my ear. But it doesn't like to do the AC/DC thing.
It's very muffled, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I've noticed playing power chords that normally I play 3 string, and straight away I'm kind of just using 2, because you just get that clarity that you don't have with an overdrive. Yeah.
Let's try this tone bypass. Let's put everything at 12.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it, Rich. Not changing anything, so it's just cutting at that tone.
Yeah.
So that's probably their preferred tone setting.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you're using a different amp or different guitar, you're going to want to tweak that tone just a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're using a bright Fender, you might want to darken it up a bit. If you're using a dark Laney, then you might want to do the other thing.
Yeah.
Whatever
exactly.
I said, the opposite. Let's see how nasty it gets, shall we?
Okay.
So,
do you want to do the nasty stuff?
I do, yeah. Do you want to play with the pedal?
We can't do this video and you not play this
Yeah,
pedal.
I'm just having such a fun time, regardless.
Alrighty, shall we go to the dirty amp as well for maximum carnage?
So, through the new Black Star.
Yeah.
Kind of went into outer space then.
Yeah.
Leave it there. I'm just going to try some. I'll try some singles note stuff.
Might be my favourite sound that we've made during this entire video.
Yeah, just turn all the knobs off and point the guitar at the speaker.
Yeah. But it's also totally not the sound that I expected to like the most, but that just sounded huge. It was thick, and it was massive, and it was totally at odds with the sort of transparency drivey sound that I like, but it's a stadium filling sound, you know?
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah. Stadium filling. That's why I put the guitar up against the speaker, because I had that relationship with it, and that's what it wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And whatever it is in my brain, there's something that has a fuzz connection that just connects.
Yeah.
And then, as I said, it's always going to be my favourite sound for a guitar. Might not be the listener's favourite sound, but I don't care.
No. Well, we want to hear what you think about these pedals in the comments and your general thoughts about fuzz. I mean, this was very much an enthusiast teaches a noob sort of an episode of Rich Words Music, but I hope you've learned something from it. Let us know your favourite pedals in the description, in the comments, of course. And finally, perhaps you could tell us which of the 5 you preferred and which you would recommend I purchase.
I'm going to agree with you. The favourite sound was that sound we had at the end when I was just thrashing on that Fuzzsquatch.
Yep.
I have a big soft spot for the Eons fuzz.
Yep.
This one, because you can do so much with it.
Yep.
And in the same vein, it's really hard to choose. You're asking me to choose something that's very different, but
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I can't answer that question. It's like asking a favourite child. It's very mood oriented as well. You know.
Yeah.
I'd probably have to say Eons Fuzz if I was really, gun to the head and all that.
Because it also covers
there's
so
a lot
many
you
bases.
can do with it.
Yeah.
However, it doesn't do everything that I want. And that's why, when you start buying fuzz pedals, you buy a lot.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that.
That is a great way to end it. I think we possibly have answered less questions than we've posed in this episode, but that's absolutely perfect because we'll both be going on more fuzz journeys on our YouTube channels in the future. Andy, thank you so much for taking the time to tell me about fuzz pedals.
You are very welcome, Rich. Thank you for having me on the channel.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to Henning and everybody for putting on 42 Gear Street 5. Thank you to all of the brands involved. We've got Rev, we've got Blackstar, we've got PJD, we've got Walrus Audio, Crazy Tube Circuits, we've got Interstellar Audio Machines, and probably a bunch of others that I've also forgotten. Hashtag 42GS5 if you'd like to find out more videos from this event. Check out that fabulous brand there that is nothing to do with this video. Check out Andy at The Guitar Geek on YouTube. But I've been Rich for Rich Words Music, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
Toodle pip.
Toodle pip.